Since the end of the Cold War, the architecture of sea-based air power has remained largely static, but that baseline is rapidly disintegrating. Right now, 10 entirely new vessels are in the final stages of planning and construction, and as they prepare to enter global fleets, they are fracturing the strict definition of what an aircraft carrier is. This matrix classifies the structural and procurement data behind these 10 upcoming ships. When mapped out, we see the development split into 3 distinct categories: the supercarrier, the fast follower, and the drone command ship. The first typology belongs to the United States. The strategy here relies on absolute scale, maintaining maritime dominance by leveraging specialized procurement economies to build massive, heavily refined supercarriers. The second model is the peer competitor approach driven by China. Rather than slow iteration, this track relies on rapid, generational technological leaps, specifically crossing the threshold into nuclear propulsion. Finally, we see a radical departure from regional powers like India, South Korea, and Turkey. They are bypassing traditional aviation infrastructure, optimizing their new hulls explicitly to command autonomous drone swarms. These 3 divergent architectures represent the technical blueprints for how different nations intend to control the sea in the coming decades. The American strategy relies on replacing its aging Nimitz fleet one for one. By committing to an eventual 10-ship run of the new Ford class, the U.S. Navy ensures it sustains its baseline operational volume. The second ship in this production line is the USS John F. Kennedy, or CVN-79. Unlike the first ship of the class, the Kennedy incorporates years of hard data and physical corrections derived from the lead ship's early deployment hurdles. By 2022, the Kennedy successfully validated its electromagnetic aircraft launch system, proving the new mechanized launch architecture works effectively at sea. This chart tracks American carrier construction from CVN-79 to CVN-83. The overlap between CVN-80 and CVN-81 represents dual ship procurement. By ordering specialized reactor components for both the Enterprise and Doris Miller simultaneously, the Navy drives down unit costs and speeds up construction. The CVN-81 is named after Doris Miller, a Navy cook who became the first recognized American hero of the Second World War. His actions during the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor established a standard of resilience that remains embedded in the modern fleet's doctrine. That continuous institutional memory moves forward with advanced budget requests already filed for CVN-82, the USS William J. Clinton. Following closely behind is the planned 5th ship in this line, the CVN-83, designated the USS George W. Bush. The sheer physical scale of this production pipeline ensures these specific hulls will project American maritime strength deep into the 2060s and 2070s. American maritime dominance is sustained by the predictability of these procurement cycles and this multi-decade financial architecture. China operates under a highly aggressive timeline. Their objective is to achieve true peer competitor status by fielding 5 operational carriers before 2032. The vessels they have launched so far, the Liaoning, Shandong, and Fujian, run on conventional power. The upcoming Type 004 and Type 005 require a massive leap past that physical constraint. This map illustrates the vulnerability of conventional carriers. They possess a strict operational radius, tethered permanently to mainland ports and vulnerable oil supply chains. The Type 004 is expected to eliminate this limitation by integrating a nuclear reactor. By generating atomic power, a nuclear vessel never needs to stop for fuel, operating with a nearly unlimited expeditionary range. Supported by this reactor, the Type 004 will launch up to 48 stealth fighters and early warning aircraft using an electromagnetic catapult. And with the Type 005 already entering early development stages, Beijing is compressing its iteration cycles down to fractions of the American timeline. Crossing the nuclear threshold grants the Chinese fleet the ability to maintain a persistent presence deep in the Pacific, operating independently of mainland supply lines for the first time. For mid-tier navies, competing on that logistical level is nearly impossible. Fielding a wing of domestic 5th-generation manned fighters creates an insurmountable resource bottleneck. The mathematical solution for these powers is bypassing manned aviation in favor of manned-unmanned teaming, or MUMT. This centers their fleet strategy on artificial intelligence and autonomous combat drones. These blueprints show South Korea's pivot. They scrapped a traditional F-35 design for the CVX command ship, built around an unmanned air wing. Removing the human pilot changes ship geometry, condensing storage, altering runways, and dedicating immense space to computing and data link infrastructure. Turkey is executing a similar pivot, utilizing its expansive domestic defense sector to construct a multi-runway carrier specifically for unmanned systems. They already operate the TCG Anadolu, proving that recovering and launching combat drones at sea is an operationally viable tactic today. India is taking this architecture and scaling it up to an entirely different weight class with the INS Vishal project. New Delhi intends to integrate complex unmanned systems directly into a 65,000-ton, heavily armored and potentially nuclear-powered frame. This asymmetric approach allows regional powers to exert immense local sea control. They achieve the aerial saturation of a heavy fleet without the crippling logistical burden of an American-style supercarrier. This brings us to a specific window of convergence. When we overlay the projected commissioning dates for all these vessels, we see a massive concentration hitting the water between 2027 and 2035. In that window, the United States will rely on continuous iteration and robust financial engineering to sustain its current advantage. China will attempt to break that hold by mastering the advanced physics of maritime nuclear reactors. And emerging regional powers will introduce entirely new variables, wielding autonomous drone integration to bypass traditional economic bottlenecks. The singular, standardized definition of an aircraft carrier no longer applies to the modern ocean. Moving forward, long-term military readiness won't be measured simply by hull displacement. It will be defined by a Navy's mastery of procurement economics, nuclear physics, and autonomous architecture.